If Ruto gets more than 3 million votes, he will be lucky. Even the Kalenjins that he thinks they are going to vote for him blindly. The young people from that community are not going to vote for him. So I'm telling you for free.
So the crowds from Narok during his tour of the region, that could have been part of paid up crowds.
You saw the crowd even in central Kenya, where each person was being paid 1,000 shillings, and some of them they were being paid 5,000. And the border guys, they were being paid to carry 2 people, and he himself is paid not only to carry but to attend the rally. It is logistical nightmare. Even saying that you want to bring foreigners through Northeastern.
Nationalizing refugees.
Yeah, make them 1 million of them. But the margin between Ruto and whoever will be fighting with him is 5 million.
Not even making Oscar Sudi the IBC chairperson could save him from
even Ruto himself, he was the IBC chair. What will you do about votes? Well, I don't know. I don't want to foretell his misfortunes. But what I told you at the beginning, we had a dictator in town, you've known. You had a land grabber in town, it has come to pass. One man show, it has come to pass. Micromanager, you have confirmed yourself. I said more than 2 years ago, but now it has come to pass.
Now we are only left to confirm whether it's going to be a one term or not.
One term is.
Liars must have good memory.
Yeah, in fact, that's what they say in English, that liars should have good memory. So that if you lie today, before you say something tomorrow, you know which lie did you blurt out yesterday for purposes of realigning your lies to create a consistent story. But our president doesn't seem to have good memory, or he doesn't care about us.
Despite him having a robust team of advisors to remind him?
I don't know whether those advisors remind him or they just applaud him. I no longer believe they are good advisors. I think they just lie to the president and tell him we are doing well for purposes of keeping their packs and their jobs.
Great to have you on Richard Mwenja Exclusive. The month is May. We continue unpacking conversations that are shaping Kenya's political and governance landscape. Welcome on board. Such a privilege to have your company. And today we are privileged to have the pleasure of the company of former Minister Kipruto Arap Kirwa. He's back on the show making a grand comeback. Waziri, so long.
Well, it's my pleasure. It was engagement about April and May. But we are here.
You're here.
And you're also away for 2 weeks or so.
The rest was long overdue.
Yeah.
Receive greetings from Moisbridge, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it's my pleasure. Tell them you're okay. And we're in the struggle.
It's such an honor to have you back in town, in flesh and blood, and more particularly on our show here. But first things first, while you were away, so much happened in Kenya's political landscape. Top of it being the unveiling of DCP party, Rigathi Gachagua's new political party.
Yes.
But some would want to question the motive behind it. Would you say that, Kirwa, this is a party founded on anger and not really ideologies? Because that's the impression that some wish to have.
Well, it is unfortunate that many political parties in Africa are not seriously based on serious ideology. And therefore, even those who are criticizing the DCP, they themselves run the risk of being poor in terms of structuring policy. But we are very clear. DCP or all parties in our coalition, we are clear that we are interested in creating teams of individuals who will be able to deliver to this country as a united front for purposes of emancipating the people of Kenya from the current situation of poverty and the situation also of lack of disciplined leadership. It is something that we've seen very common with Kenya Kwanza, that they lack the discipline to respect themselves and to respect the public. So our interest is to create a team of individuals from different parts of the country, from different generations, from different political persuasion, from also different not only in demographic scale, but also in terms of diversity by training, by professional and experience, so that we give this country the best team that can deliver and transit to the next generation. Yeah.
However, Waziri, do you take concern with already individuals, established figures within your coalition endorsing themselves for the presidential ticket. Some would argue, better be silent on it, but at the 11th hour, now declare who will be your flag bearer. So far, Rigathi Gachagua has hinted at prospects of him making it to the ballot, and so has Kalonzo Musyoka and Eugene Wamalwa. Don't you think these are miscalculation on your end, and it could bring premature divisions?
Well, events of the past indicate that every political entity must aspire to take over power. But reality is different. We are going to process, and if the process is genuine and also keeps all the basic issues required, we shall be able to identify the best person to pick the ticket of our coalition. Otherwise, as of now, everybody is allowed to run the show, to mobilize his supporters, and at the end of the day, we'll use a scientific way of identifying who is the best suited for the position. And as I said, we are not interested in one individual. We are interested in creating a team that whoever is picked to lead will be first among equals, so that we respect the fact that, yes, we can say, Richard, you are the leader of this team, but you'll also know that those who have allowed you to lead are equally capable, if not more, than you are. And therefore, we shall be a consultative process, even in terms of leadership when you are in the office, so that at the end of the day, the best idea wins, not the best person wins. Yeah.
It makes sense. Waziri, I understand that, yes, you, Eugene Wamalwa, and many others could be the architects in the boardroom of your political maneuvers and strategies. But before the public gallery, Rigathi Gachagua seems to be the only one from your coalition punching heavy enough. Don't you think there is a need for you all to come to the public gallery as one force? The beating has to be hard enough for you to challenge Ruto in the first place, other than leaving that squarely at the doorstep of Rigathi Gachagua, as it seems so far.
Well, I think every person, why Rigathi Gachagua is highlighted as the most lethal of all the opponents of the current regime, is because he was close to the top, he was close to the president. They shared a lot of secrets that when he reveals, everybody believes this is what they knew, and this is why they parted ways. Remember, I had parted ways with them much earlier in the run-up to 2022 general election. And therefore, a lot of information must have taken place prior to elections and after elections that I may not be privy to, other than what we see in the public domain. This therefore means that Rigathi Gachagua happens to be the person with the most current information about the regime that he was part of. And therefore, the disagreements notwithstanding, we know he knows slightly more than some of us. Yeah.
But aren't you afraid that probably he could be snared by his words or political diction? Case in point, him claiming that the regime of today is trying to use killer police squad to finish him, literally baying for his life. Don't you think that is too much to come from Rigathi Gachagua, a very emotive subject that could probably bring up premature chaos?
Well, if anything happened to him, it will create a chaotic situation in this country. My prayer is that he is going to be safe. And also, let us understand, if he has that information, it is his right to tell us, because at times people keep quiet until it is too late. Remember the late Robert Ouko. Remember the late Thomas Joseph Mboya, Pio Kamapinto, J.M. Kariuki. We knew of the scheme when they were already dead. So I would rather we know of it and we condemn it so that it doesn't take place. Because any person being killed by any regime, the blood of a human being is so deep. That's why even the young people who were killed the other day is still haunting this regime, despite the fact that they deny, and at times they make very outrageous statements, including that all the GNZs who had been abducted have been united with their parents. How about those who died? How are they united with their parents? And even some of them, up to now, we don't know where they are.
The president made that remark, standing high on a litany of lies?
Yeah, and of course, you know, as well as I do, that has become his trademark. It was one of the lies. Apart from, of course, saying he met an elder who had died 2017, and they negotiated about the piece of land. Chelugate. Why didn't he say he has negotiated with the family of the late Isaiah Chelugate?
Yeah.
Because when you listen to the clip, he was like he was seated with Chelugate, somebody who died 2017. So I don't know what kind of magic he has to resurrect people, have a meeting, and allow them to move to the next phase of life. It's a very interesting scenario. It worries me, because if he has that power, he might resurrect some people to vote for him in the next general election.
Ghost voters?
That's my worry.
We are coming to the IB issue in a while.
Yeah.
But is this part of the reasons why you highly recommend mental assessment of our president, saying that he's graduated from just a habitual liar to a pathological liar, and the next stage is probably taking Kenya to the morgue?
Well, I don't know. I'm least qualified, but increasingly, I'm suspicious that the president needs to be assisted. I'm increasingly suspicious. He needs to be assisted in the sense that some of the lies are known. Even before he pronounces himself to them, people will know that this is a lie. So I do not know why he has to do that. Or does he forget that he had said a different thing 2 or 3 days previous? Those are some of the questions I ask myself.
Liars must have good memory.
Yeah, in fact, that's what they say in English, that liars should have good memory. So that if you lie today, before you say something tomorrow, you know which lie did you blurt out yesterday for purposes of realigning your lies to create a consistent story. But our president doesn't seem to have good memory, or he doesn't care about us.
Despite him having a robust team of advisors to remind him?
I don't know whether those advisors remind him or they just applaud him. I no longer believe they are good advisors. I think they just lie to the president and tell him we are doing well for purposes of keeping their packs and their jobs.
Even individuals in the capacity of professors?
You know, a professor is as good as his own integrity. Yeah, going to school is not a sign of emotional intelligence. It's not a sign of integrity. Unless you have some measure of integrity, you can be anything in the academia. But if you lack integrity, you are as good as somebody who has not seen in a classroom since they were born.
Rightly put, Waziri.
Yeah.
Let's backpedal to the conversation about threats to Gachagua's life, which he has alleged that they are in the air. And you've been an elected member of parliament for Cherangani constituency for 20 years.
Yes.
Went ahead to serve in many other political positions. But this far, is it a political strategy for politicians to claim that their life is in danger, just so to keep their perceived enemies at bay?
No, I don't think somebody of the stature of Rigathi Gachagua can make a statement like that for no reason. You see, when you make a statement like that, you also attract the attention of your enemies in a way that if you are lying, if he was lying, they can prove that he's lying. And that will not be interesting for him. So I'm sure he's saying that because he has information. Remember, this is the immediate former deputy president, somebody even now possibly in the books or technically, because the other process seems to be faulty, could actually qualify to be said he's still the deputy president. Because if the swearing in of Professor Kithure Kindiki is null and void, the foundation of that case is almost collapsing. And if it collapses, on paper, he will be the deputy president. But in reality, it may be fait accompli or the horse has bolted. Otherwise, there is a gray area. So for him, he has sources of information. Remember, if you run like the ministry I ran for 5 years, about 20 years ago, if I needed information about that ministry, I'll get, because I still got my networks.
Yeah.
Some have retired, but still I've got my networks, and people know that any information they give me, I'll be able to safeguard their identity So Rigathi Gachagua must be getting information from the intelligence. Remember, he was in the National Security Council as a deputy president, and therefore he also has friends. And of course, there are many young Kenyans and old Kenyans, even in the public service, who are sympathetic to our cause. So I'm sure we get that information. Yeah.
There's an accusation leveled against Rigathi Gachagua, and that is one to do with him beating drums for this early, talking about should the president harbor thoughts of rigging the 2027 elections, then the 2007 post-election violence will look like a Christmas party this time round. It could be even messier. You are part of those who are greatly affected by the 2007 election. Your family was somewhat affected, and you've talked about that boldly on this show. When you hear the conversation about post-election violence, now Kiambaa Church renting our political fodder, are we dancing with the danger here? Was it in the first place, talking about such a highly emotive subject?
You see, the first person who should have been arrested and arraigned in a court of law should be Oscar Sudi.
Kapseret, member of parliament?
Yes, for saying even if the votes will not be enough, we'll be able to do some additions. Which system was he going to use? That is perverting the role of IEBC.
Manipulating the votes in favor.
Yes, and therefore, that is an election offense from the beginning. So when Rigathi reminds you that we don't want what happened in 2007, he's not telling you he's going to do that. He knows the subject of elections is a motive, because we have made presidential elections so expensive and so divisive that anything happening, people feel that we have lost the country, and therefore it can create a level of emotional engagement that is likely to be volatile. Perhaps he may not have used the words I've used, but effectively that's what you are saying. He didn't say that we are going to do what we did in Kiambaa, what somebody did in Kiambaa. And we should be asking, in that Kiambaa church, where we saw some photos, some clips showing children trying to run out of the fire and people returning them into the inferno. Anybody who is still got a conscience does not like that. And those who are responsible must be guilty to the core. And that's why they are trying to gag Rigathi Gachagua, reminding Kenyans, we do not want the situation of Kiambaa 2007 or post-election violence of 2007. Yeah.
And somewhat now to walk the talk on the need for us not to go back to 2007 post-election violence, the president has called Rigathi Gachagua to order, asking him shun ethnic rhetoric and divisive politics. But at the same time, you are saying the architects of this ethnic bigotry are Oscar Sudi and say Senator Cherargei in the first place.
Yeah.
Is the president pretentious when he says, or even Kipchumba Murkomen, that we're going to arrest those peddling ethnic politics?
When they take him to court, let's assume they arrest him tomorrow or today or 2 weeks from now. Which crime are they going to charge him again for which crime will he have committed? Because you see, it is not just...
says Gachagua is inciting the masses.
Which masses? Gachagua is reminding people that we do not want to revisit the situation of 2007. He is not inciting anybody. He has not told his supporters, do what was done in Kiambaa Church in 2008 or 2007, thereabout. So it is a question of the interpretation. You see, what I know, those who are saying Rigathi Gachagua should be arrested are people who are guilty by association of what happened in Kiambaa Church in the year 2008. They are guilty, and therefore they are reminding ourselves. And in fact, I've said it before, perhaps not here, that President Uhuru Kenyatta and President William Ruto, having won the 2013 general election, they kept quiet about the need for healing between the two communities. Because these are two communities, previous, they were condemning each other. Then, because of Hague, they got united and won the election. And that should have been a milestone to remind them, yes, why did we degenerate to a situation where we were killing each other like animals? And that situation, they should have midwifed the process akin to the one that was done in Rwanda, akin to the one that was done in South Africa, so that people talk about these things and they get out of it. Because we are one country, we are one nation. We are only pretending when it is convenient for us. Because I look in so many fora now, the Kikuyus who are very good friends of the Kalenjins who are very good friends of the Kikuyu in the last general election, the way they are talking in various fora is something that you wonder, were these people together in the first place, and why were they together? Were they bewitched by one William Ruto, or what happened? Such that Uhuru was disowned, Ruto was embraced, and today when the mountain says we want less of Ruto, now Kikuyus become bad people. You know, if we don't talk openly about these things, we'll be pretending.
So these people are now backpedaling to their tribal cocoons.
They are going to their tribal cocoon that is one of our own. Whatever the things that he's doing is one of our own. How many acres did President Moi have? How many acres that the Kenyatta family have? When something happens in Narok, where 6 people are killed, and 5 of them, they are shot on the head. Then you want us to forget, and we say, let to so and so amass land, even what does not belong to him. Let so and so lease out some of the facilities, including Bomas of Kenya. Let so and so cut part of the forest here, take 5 acres, build a 5-star hotel next to this Talanda thing.
Strategic investments.
By who? In fact, if I was to tell the president, some of those things will be reversed.
Including leasing our sugar mills?
Those things will be reversed. Private investors leasing at 2,000 shillings per year for the next 30 years. You know, the next 30 years, I'll be 98. I'll be the age of Mzee Mudavadi. I'll not be able to come to this studio. What? I'm telling you, this is the truth.
Some of these things will be reversed.
They will be reversed.
Just one tribe will be told, hey, no more of these games. Give us back our sugar mills.
Yeah. Take whatever you invested, or we compensate you as government. If this Muindi can run that sugar mill and create profit, why don't we enlist his services in terms of consultancy? Why must we surrender land, property? He bought Webuye paper mills. Yeah. There's no smoke. He told us there will be smoke in the next 3 days. Up to now, for the last 7 years, we have not seen any smoke.
It was a decoy?
It was a decoy because he bought a lot of land, a lot of property within Webuye town for only 1 billion shillings.
Why do opaque government transactions go in the same line with President Ruto all the time, if not half the time?
I don't know. You see, you know, when I said he took away the procession away,
yeah.
Some people are saying, oh, how can Kirwa say this? Oh, how can he say, how can a title be issued on a road, on a piece of land which is a road reserve? But it came to pass, it was confirmed. I remember him surrendering those pieces of title back to Ministry of Lands when we took over the government in 2003. So he's been lucky that he's able to do the things nobody does, and he gets away with it.
Kenyans are just from the Adani deals. And then now you bring the leasing of our public sugar mills. Then you're talking about getting away with part of our forest to build up a hotel. And so
and even Bomas of Kenya is also another situation which has been leased to somebody for the next 99 years.
Do we have a dictator in town, and what does it, why are Kenyans really embracing that?
Well, they are waiting for the next election. I can tell you, if Ruto gets more than 3 million votes, he will be lucky. Even the Kalenjins that he thinks they are going to vote for him blindly. The young people from that community are not going to vote for him. So I'm telling you for free.
So the crowds from Narok during his tour of the region, that could have been part of paid up crowds.
You saw the crowd even in central Kenya, where each person was being paid 1,000 shillings. And some of them, they were being paid 5,000. And the border guys, they were being paid to carry 2 people. And he himself is paid not only to carry, but to attend the rally.
So accusing Governor Natembeya and a host of Western leaders of politicizing PPPs that the government gets into, that in itself is admitting their Ponzi schemes therein. You
see, constitutionally, there should be clear public participation And if the public is not involved in any deal like that, constitutionally is null and void ab initio. And therefore it will not stand the test of any regime. So those things that they carry people where Tangula goes, calls people to some social halls, pays them 10,000 shillings, some 5,000 shillings, that's not public participation. Public participation must have the basic ingredient that the public is involved in a meaningful way. And public participation also means it must be informed participation, so that the choice that you take is informed by all the facts laid in that particular case. But you cannot just call people and say, oh, there is an investor who wants to assist us to
revitalize our sugar sector.
Our sugar sector. Who as who? These are some of the problems. So what I'm just telling you is that we are waiting. Whether William Ruto loses the next election or retires in 2032, those things are going to be reversed. I may not be alive, but I'm telling you, they'll be reversed.
In our lifetime?
In our lifetime.
Tell me this, Waziri.
Yeah.
On what account do you think President Ruto is going to meet his biggest Waterloo come August 2027? On the account of grand corruption or general political deception?
A number of things. One is corruption. He has appetite for things that don't belong to him. Number two, the promises that he made is not likely to fulfill even a quarter of them. Number three, arrogance. Number four, abduction and killing of innocent Kenyans. And many other issues. People will not be voting for whoever is fighting with him. They'll be voting against him. And internationally, all votes are either in favor of you or to block the other person from taking over. They vote for you.
You brought up the issue about our international partners out there and even Kenyans in diaspora. And these Kenyans in diaspora are taking concern with the diplomatic moves from President Ruto. Case in point, when you had US Senator Jim Risch saying there's need for us to rethink our relation with Kenya, all thanks to the statements President Ruto made in his April China state visit, talking about we are co-architects, not just trade partners, but co-architects of a new world order. These are statements that could carry heavy diplomatic repercussions. And you as a seasoned diplomat, do you think our president is really doing good on the international scale? Well,
that's how Raila lost the AU chairmanship, AU Commission chairmanship. I wrote a letter to Raila, to 2.5 pages. I copied to Mudavadi. I copied to Wetangula. And the essence of that letter was, given a number of goofs that we made from Somalia, appointing somebody as High Commissioner to Hargeisa, when Somalia does not want that to be done, dealing with issues of Morocco and Sahrawi, dealing with the issues of DRC and the stolen gold, dealing with the issue of Sudan, issues of South Sudan, RSF, dealing with the issues of...
you mentioned Haiti a while back also.
Yes, Haiti, a situation that created, and also careless statements, including when he was in China. He said, our economy is more vibrant than that of neighbors. How, you know, why don't you give statistics about your economy? Don't say your neighbor has no food.
Least developed countries.
Yeah. Why should you say that? You know, effectively in diplomacy, and I wish Singwe had done diplomacy, the peers.
The accent is not enough.
Whatever, you know, the accent, these are talking like a Mzungu when you went to America for only 2 years.
Waziri, come on.
No, this is reality.
Kenya
Somebody, if Ruto was capable of taking advice, he should spend more time listening to Monica Juma when it comes to diplomacy. She's been a diplomat, she's trained a diplomat, and she knows the stuff better than most of those guys. But you see, the advisors to these diplomatic are people like Sudi, who really don't understand what diplomacy, even the spelling of diplomacy.
If Sudi wields enough power to even advise the president on diplomatic matters?
Because it's not diplomacy, it is about business ventures.
Cabal of thieves?
Yeah. And opportunists. Business ventures. When you hear about Sudan, it's about gold. When you hear about DRC, it's about gold. When you hear about Argesa, it's a bit of some shady businesses they want to do. Morocco, it was the fertilizer that Morocco gave them that they said we are disowning Sahrawi.
So we are not even peace ambassadors to Haiti?
They are going to Haiti because you expected some 14 billion or so shillings or whatever it is.
Let's center the conversation back home here, and we're talking about the East African community. You saw the deportation of Martha Karua.
Yeah.
A key principle in your coalition, the People's Loyal Coalition, detainment of former CJ Emeritus Willy Mutunga.
Yeah.
And not just that. If you look at some of the mess in our diplomatic environment in East Africa, Kisa Besigye being arrested in Kenya, Maria Surungi being abducted here in Kenya, and so on and so forth. Do you think there's need for us to even rethink the East African community engagement in the first place?
Well, there are a number of things. We need to be careful. The way I was saying, in China, the president did not have to say the countries around the region are least developed. It is not good to cast aspersion on your neighbor. Even if your neighbor, you had the children crying last night that they did not have food. It is not your business to go to the local center and say so and so's children slept without food. Tell us your children have food and your plans of producing more food. So that is one issue. Number two, we are not trusted anymore by East African leaders because of the kiherehere of our president. Remember, these are people who are seasoned. Museveni has been there, whether you like him or not. The reins of power, he knows. He took over power and he has not gotten out of power. Mama Suluhu, she knows what she is doing according to her own people. They seem to be happy. People like Kagame, he took over power, I think, 1990 something, before even William Ruto became an MP. So some of these issues, you should realize that the people who have been in those shoes, he should not even have made the speech he made in Kasarani, almost pontificating and making Uhuru look like he was the worst president that ever lived, and he was part of that presidency.
Demonizing the Kenyatta?
Yeah, the Kenyatta family. And almost making it like, if you are the president, your children don't deserve a chance.
Yeah.
So is he telling us his children now must be considered to be dynasties? It's like telling somebody who is a pastor that your child should not be a pastor. Look at the child, whether he qualifies to be a pastor, and allow the child to do whatever he feels or she feels is okay. So the president has been so kiherehere in this town and within the region. Other leaders know. Even in the village, Richard. Anybody who is kiherehere from Mosbury, Nyakinywa, Wapi, Kapkoi, people will say, huyu kiherehere amefika. People keep quiet and they look in the other direction.
It isn't a show of your mastery of many trades?
What kind of trades? You know, what kind of trades?
A president boldly saying we are co-actors of a new world order. Are we even ripe to...
Do we qualify, even collectively as Africa, to talk of world order? We are recipients of the masses of the rest of the world. I've told you in this program that for every $1 that comes to Africa, $7 leave the continent because of our own inaptitude.
We are feeding on breadcrumbs?
Yeah, because of our inaptitude and the fact that we sell our country because we want to get something personal from those deals. All these deals taking place in Africa, whether it is oil in Angola, whether it's gold in DRC, whether it is gold in Sudan, whether it's diamonds in Tanzania, whether it is supposed oil in Uganda. When Museveni refused, those guys had to come back and set up factories in Uganda.
Chinua Achebe talks about too much ambition killing a man. Is the president likely going to run the risk of being that man whom ambition will kill?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to foretell his misfortunes. But what I told you at the beginning, we had a dictator in town, you've known. You had a land grabber in town, it has come to pass. One man show, it has come to pass. Micromanager, you have confirmed yourself. I said more than 2 years ago, but now it has come.
Now we are only left to confirm whether it's going to be a one-term or not.
One term is.
Because in the eyes of Cherargei and many of his allies like Nelson Koech, Belgut, Member of Parliament, they say you have zero precedence of a one-term president in Kenya. So who are you? to bring this new dispensation as Kirwa and Gachagua and the People's Loyal Coalition?
It happened in Botswana. It happened in Zambia. It happened in Angola. It happened in West Africa. And more interesting, in West Africa, one of the presidents was told by the wife when they were traveling back from Europe.
The wife?
Yes, that I know back home, you are so unpopular, you will do us a lot of disservice by running again. So the president opted out of running. So please, Kenya is not an island. Just like when President Kaunda lost in Zambia and other presidents lost in the region, President Moi had to pave the way for multipartyism. Divide the opposition, survive, then disappear without losing the election. That's how Uhuru was given the misfortune of carrying the burden of President Moi in the year 2002. And he lost so heavily because he was carrying a burden that did not belong to him.
Spectacular failure?
Yeah, because Uhuru was a very innocent person. Now given the burden of being condemned with Kano. Yeah.
A similar fate could meet President Ruto in 2027. Spectacular failure.
Failure because he cannot run away from the burden of incumbency. He's been associating others. He made Raila look like an incumbent when he was a deputy president in the previous regime that he was fighting. Now, the burden of incumbency is squarely on his shoulders. How will he run away from that?
Not the new IBC nominees would save him from that fate.
No way.
Because Gachagua claims that the IBC nominee list from President Ruto is politically biased. Are we talking about Kirwa's coalition harboring fears of defeat already? Or indeed you are speaking about issues of opaqueness in the composition of IBC in the first place?
What I know is that my hope does not lie in IBC. It lies in the faith of Kenyans, more so the young generation, who are going not only to vote, but to make sure that they safeguard the votes that they will have voted for whoever is going to be their candidate. And if there is a margin, you know, you can rig. If it is a margin of 10 votes, 100 votes, 200,000, but if it is more than 2 million votes, it is logistical nightmare. Even saying that you want to bring foreigners through Northeastern.
Nationalizing our refugees.
Yeah, make them 1 million of them. But the margin between Ruto and whoever will be fighting with him is 5 million.
Not even making Oscar Sudi the IBC chairperson could save him from
even that. Even Ruto himself, if he was the IBC chair, what will you do about votes? And remember, we'll be, you see the constitution is clear.
Yeah.
The vote at the polling station, that Kablamai, my home, will be relayed directly to IBC center, and we'll be having parallel centers to do the counting for us. By the time we go to Bomas, whether it will be Bomas or whatever, we already have the results.
And the choir is already in the arena.
Oh yeah. No, this time we will not allow the choir that was singing
from Tanzania.
No. Mzee Raila was overwhelmed because I don't know why.
And will you invite Ole Sapit to pray for you? Talking of Ole Sapit, seemingly the church is now going bare knuckles on the government of today. Not just Archbishop Anthony Muheria.
Yes.
Your schoolmate from Mangu. I have to mention that so that we keep your ego intact.
Yes.
Pride.
But no, I'm never worried. I went to Mangu because I was chosen. I did not go to Mangu because I was taken through the back door like a
You merited?
I merited. I was there, you know, I broke records in Kablamai Primary School. I got 3 A's, 2 A's and A minus, 35 points out of 36.
From Tanganyika, you hit Kapulamai with a thunder.
Yes. And within 5 years, I had already finished my primary education.
Now let's talk about your fellow alumni from Mangu High School, Bishop Anthony Muheria.
Yeah, he was my senior in school, although he's younger than me, because I delayed in going to primary. Anyway, that's a story for another
day.
Yeah.
All right. So
he was in Form 3 when I joined Mangu, Form 1, 1977.
Great.
Yeah, he was in Form 3.
He's still speaking about the issue of the regime of the day being high on this culture of elevated falsehoods, thriving by invoking fear, and just a culture of lies, standing on a litany of lies. And the similar reservations lie squarely at the doorstep of Ole Sapit, who also believes that indeed we are seeing a regime which is going to meet its Waterloo in 2027. Should they not change tact? Are you afraid that probably the church is going to be the last nail on the political coffin of Kenya Kwanza administration?
I think the church is just the conscience of the nation. because they are likely to be more objective than I can ever be, or any other politician for that matter. So I feel the church and even all religious groups, they are going to make the last verdict. And remember, the church is not just the bishops. It's the bishops and the congregation and the followers and those who believe in what the church has been doing, including the largest of them all, the Catholic Church. And they have been very clear that this regime does not represent an iota of humanity that society demands of any leadership. Yeah.
Very well. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about the war against graft in this country. Following the arrest of Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya, as we speak, he is already in court, and we wait to see what will come out of that particular trial. Alex, the president, says it's not political witch hunt. We are just trying to fight corruption. Stop saying we are going after Natembeya because he's a threat to us politically. From where you sit, what's your opinion about the arrest of Natembeya and any other person who has been accused of corruption who is not on the side of government?
Well, let me say this. Personally, I do not condone any pilferage of resources from the public coffers to individual pockets. Number two, I would expect the justice system to operate blindfolded so that you do not look at an individual because he's on this side of the equation. But I'm worried, given the fact that immediately this regime took over, there were over 17 cases which were withdrawn.
Acquittals?
Acquittals by Director of Public Prosecution, Nurdin Haji.
Under lack of sufficient evidence.
This therefore means politically we are still vulnerable to manipulation by those in power for fear of repression. And therefore you cannot say with confidence that the situation obtaining now insofar as Governor George Natembeya is concerned is something that has been done without an iota of malice. I say so because the way this went into his house yesterday that created a lot of altercations around Kitale town is a way of being either naive or you just want to tell the public that one of your own is vulnerable. Because if I was to steal, I must be slightly more intelligent than just handling my own resources. And if I was to steal anything from public coffers, I will not keep in my house. I will not keep any documents in my house that I know may have incriminating information against me.
Unless you're an intern thief, a thief on internship.
On internship, who does not understand. And remember, Natembeya is not somebody who has just gotten into public space. He was a DO. He was actually my DO before he went to Kangema to be a DO to the late Michuki. He became district commissioner, went all the way to regional commissioner. That's where he retired to run for Trans Nzoia governorship.
A career administrator?
Yes, and therefore is aware of things that can happen. And if, I'm not saying he has taken anything from the public. If there was anything he took from the public, is intelligent not to expose himself. So that kind of surrounding his house and the ransacking upside down was a way of showing people your boss does not matter. It is something that the people of Kitale did not take kindly. And we would want to say, yes, we can fight corruption, but there is a style of fighting corruption in a way that you still leave somebody with dignity. Because our constitution is clear and our legal system is clear. You are innocent until proven guilty. And therefore, the fact that he's in a court of law has not, even if whatever the verdict today or tomorrow or in three months, that verdict is not the last verdict. It will be subject to appeal.
It's subject to appeal.
To appeal. And therefore, Natembeya, as I'm talking to you now, is innocent. You cannot say it's guilt. Even if you saw him take 2,000 shillings from the till of the county, you have not proven that he took. And you are there. And you are an accountant. Because you see, you can say he took. You don't know whether it was his allowance or whatever it is. Anyway, on a serious note, I think let's fight corruption with a measure of integrity, dignity, and a lot of decorum. Decorum in the sense that let's not try to reduce each other into another show away from the main show. Yeah.
All right, Waziri, almost finally, I want us to have a conversation about the architecture of the People's Loyal Coalition, which you belong in. Many parties are there. DAP Kenya, mention of Wiper Kenya, now DCP Kenya, and a few others. Waziri, I'm going to ask about what is the place of Gen Z in your formation this far. Are they an afterthought in your architecture, not just the leadership front of it, but also who pulls the strings and who is at the center of your strategies? Are Gen Z an afterthought in the formation of your coalition?
I said at the beginning of this conversation that we are going to be as diverse as possible, both in terms of ethnicity, demography, and even professionally. And therefore, Gen Z is part of this nation. Remember, people under 40 comprise 87% of the population of Kenya. People of my age and above, we are only 2.9%. And therefore, we are not going to be oblivious to exclude the majority of Kenyans in our coalition. And we've said we are open to suggestions. We strongly believe the most important thing is to create a team of people who mean well for this country, regardless of their age. And we'll be guided by many examples that we've seen in the continent.
So that's how you plan to harness the potential of this Gen Z to realize this new change that you want to be.
Yeah, they're part of this country. And their ideas are more relevant because they know where the shoe is pinching them. And therefore our manifesto, which is our manifesto as a country, as a coalition, must of necessity incorporate the ideas from young Kenyans, the ideas from professionals, the ideas from Kenyans in diaspora, the ideas from people who may have retired, but they have good ideas on where they feel we should avoid the pitfalls that they went through for this country to be better.
Finally, Waziri, as a seasoned public servant in this country, elected leader, to what do you owe this now constant cash shortfalls within our institutions, and more particularly our public universities? You've heard about UON breathing its last, it's on the brink of collapse, Moi University. Now we are looking at capitation issues when it comes to even our candidates at the primary school level and secondary school levels. Prospects of them sitting this year's national exams hangs at a limbo. To what do you owe this cash crunch in our public institutions?
There are many sources of this problem. But the ones I can quickly remember is one, political decisions that the government makes without looking at the repercussions it will have on various institutions. For example, various universities had expanded and they had brought this module something program.
Module 2, parallel program.
Yeah, parallel program, which was the main source of resources to various universities. That program was sort of stifled by two things. One, the number of students that qualified to go to university got reduced at some stage so much that public universities were almost taking in the normal intake those students, and therefore module 2 program did not have enough people to give resources to the university. And yet the university had expanded, built some structures so now became useless and obsolete because the students did not have the numbers. So that's one source. The second source is political appointments that are done of vice chancellors just because somebody is a professor of a university. They make him the vice chancellor without the requisite skills of management and dealing with human beings.
More of mtu wetu syndrome?
Either mtu wetu or somebody that we know. Because to be a professor is a lot of struggle, but it doesn't make you a good manager.
You worked with Professor Bitangi Ndemo during Kibaki's administration.
He was our peers.
How do you weigh him turning down appointment to be the VC of UON?
He must have known that the situation, well, first of all, he himself explained that the minister did not seem to sanction that. And therefore he realized he's going to get into a quagmire that it will be impossible for him to get out.
He had the discernment.
Yes. And therefore that was the first red flag. Number two, perhaps he read more into the University of Nairobi, which has had a lot of changes. Remember, even Kenyatta University now, Professor Paul Wainaina has been taken back by a court of law. He had been evicted, he has been taken back there. University of Nairobi has been having vice chancellors from Bithi to Kiama. Then Hutchinson came in briefly, and before Kiama there was another guy who was seen to be favored by the former minister. He didn't survive long. So whatever has been happening there is something that is confusing and is worrying. Therefore, I've told you political interference twice. The third issue is also lack of effective management. Remember, private universities like Strathmore, USIU, they are running, they have enough students, they are charging slightly higher than the public universities, and yet they don't seem to run into any cash crunch because people go where there is confidence. Those days to be a student from the University of Nairobi was a mark above the rest.
An edge above the rest.
Yes, an edge above the rest. But today, people doubt you.
The UON, people doubt graduates from the UON?
Yeah, they doubt you now because they think you are not baked enough. Yeah, that you came out of the machine before you are ready for the field.
They want USIU and Strathmore.
Yeah, because they have proven that they are good competition in the market. Now, the third issue, so the issue of mismanagement.
Sure.
The third issue that is also very important is that what we call bending bills. There are many bending bills and bending disbursement from exchequer to these universities. And it has effect on their own financial transactions. And that creates a clock up in the system that the university is not running smoothly. Because how can private universities, which don't get anything from the exchequer, run better? It's because they don't expect anything from the exchequer. And therefore they are running their businesses according to the material they have. As they say in English, cut your cloth, cut your coat according to your cloth. Yeah. So the material that you have, you just fit yourself within that. Yeah.
Finally, you are son of the Rift, son of Rift Valley. Do you cry for more university looking at it now breathing its last?
Well, I just pray that it will be, the government cannot just allow a university like that to go down. It has to be revived. And I feel bad that that is a university that the late President Moi went out of his way to make sure that there is a university in that part of the country. And Moi University is responsible for the development that you've seen Elred go through. It is actually the presence of Moi University, International Airport, RTS, the Central Bank, and now customs within Elred that has made Elred what we are calling now a city. So collapse of Moi University, for me, is a negative, will have negative effect for the people of that part of the country, all the way to Turkana. Yeah.
So before we talk about building Narok International Airport, let's first fix Moi University.
Let's fix the whatever is existing.
Before Ryan gets an airport next to his home.
Well, I don't know whether they are giving it to Ryan or because William has a farm next to do. I think William is just looking for a way of landing next to his farm.
But I think it should be a good thing for you who want him out in 2027, that he can get home quick enough from State House straight.
Yeah, Narok, you will go to Sugoi first.
Oh.
Yeah, we've agreed. Barabara kama ile the one he's telling us on the other side.
Dual lane of the Mau Rironi Road.
Yeah, but I don't know whether they have money. Yeah, that is my worry. You know, some of these things, I don't know. You know, Chinese are also very shrewd. They will ask themselves, how will they pay for it?
Well, there you have it from the firebrand himself, former minister Ruto, Arab Kirwa. We've conversed on a number of issues in the world of politics and governance. Time now for us to go straight to this insightful segment where we extend our debt of gratitude to individuals who've made tremendous impact, not just in Kenya, but across the globe. Heroes Corner with Honorable Kipruto Arab Kirwa. Waziri,
yes.
As you make your grand comeback on our show, who kickstarts our edition for Heroes Corner?
Well, a gentleman born 1927.
1927?
Yes, 1927.
3 years after Moi, your friend?
Yes, I think 3 years or 4. Yeah, 3 years after Moi. And 4 years before Kibaki was born.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, remember Moi was born 24, Kibaki 31, this man 27. So he was between Moi and Kibaki.
You came 2 decades later.
27, actually 57 means 3 decades later.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was born 57.
You're such an infant.
Compared to them.
Compared to Moi and Kibaki.
But I'm such a dinosaur compared to you.
All right, let's circle back to this hero born in 1927.
7 years. Mzee Mudi Arthur Awori.
Mudi Arthur Awori.
Who went ahead to become a businessman. From the business domain, he went to politics in 1982. 82 or 79? I think it should be 79. And became an assistant minister for 20 years before he was appointed by Mzee Kibaki, minister in charge of correctional services.
20 years assistant minister?
Assistant minister. Actually, we used to say he's the longest serving assistant minister. He was the MP for Funyula.
Is it that he never had the requisite capacity to rise to the rank of a minister or what?
You see, to be a minister, at times it is a question of luck, opportunity, and at times blessings from your neighbors. But if you have neighbors who feel that you are too smart for them, you may end up being assistant minister for long.
It's rarely about sycophancy, and like what we are seeing today?
In politics, there are 2 things. There is a question of competency and the question of loyalty. And loyalty at times is ahead of competency. So at times you lack a chance to get to a position of minister because those around you do not feel you are good enough because you know slightly more than them.
So 20 years assistant minister, and then?
Became minister for Home Affairs, elevated to vice president when the late Wamalwa passed on, and he retired from politics the year 2007. Mzee Mudi Awari is now 98, and he's in this town.
Did he retire as a statesman?
Yeah, he's a statesman. Yeah, he still got all his faculties all right.
Still in town?
Yes, I was told by a neighbor the other day that when he's at home, he walks to the place, pick a newspaper, and go read it at home.
At around 98 years of age?
Yeah, 98 years of age. So 30 years I would still be here. Good. I hope I will.
Walking to Kapulamai Market Center?
No, Sibanga.
Oh.
Yeah, Sibanga is nearer. Otherwise, Kapulamai is 17 kilometers. But I used to walk when I was in primary school. Yeah, from Ngonyek to Kapulamai.
But when you became an MP, that became too posh for you?
No. Well, at times when you are an MP, you get a number of vehicles. Yeah, and at times border. Yeah.
What do you think is one of the greatest things that probably you would wish to borrow leaf from Mudi Awori during your tenure as minister and even thereafter?
One is the question of discipline. His management style is very interesting. He's very disciplined. Disciplined in the sense that he does not spend money where he feels that money is not a good return on investment. Mzee, you can see him with a pair of shoes, one, that he wears through the year. And yet he's one of the wealthiest people in this country. Also, his style of doing things. Yeah. He has to take a nap for half an hour in between, then perform all the way to 9 o'clock in the evening. Some of us, if you took a nap, you may sleep for 2 hours. Then you wake up and you don't know where to go. For him, he was disciplined.
Disciplined with self.
And any time he went out of his premises, he could not pick any hotel unless there is a swimming pool, because he used to swim regularly, daily. Yeah. And even after lunch, he might take a swim, then have a nap, go back to the office, whether it is government office or private office.
But he was a political gentleman.
He's a gentleman. No wonder he went to Mangu High School.
He too was from Mangu?
Yeah.
Mudavadi
was in Mangu High School.
Was he?
You know, well, just go check the records. He was in Mangu High School earlier than Kibaki. So in that cabinet, we were 5 of us from Mangu.
Sorry.
We were 5 of us in that cabinet. We were 5 of us.
From Mangu.
From Mangu. Kibaki himself, Mudavadi, John Mishuki, George Saitoti, and yours truly.
Does the secret now lie in President Ruto roping in Mangu alumni to help him save this sinking ship?
No, we don't want to get to be part of the dirt that they have created. Anybody from Mangu joining William Ruto is mistaken.
Let people from Alliance do so.
Whichever other school. Because we used to believe there were only 2 schools, Mangu and the rest.
Mangu and the rest?
And the rest, hata ile ulienda.
All right.
Where did you go?
The mighty St. Joseph's High School.
Kitale.
In Kitale.
Oh yeah, it's a good school. It's a good school. It's one of the rest. Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's where Kim Murkomen was there briefly.
Did you have to correlate?
He was with, Murkomen was there.
Of J.K. Adani?
Yeah, Murkomen was in St. Joseph's before he went to St. Patrick's in 10.
Well, maybe soon enough he'll meet his Damascus moment, because we are known to bring forth alumnus of good transparency ratings. So I don't know what happened to him, but probably
because he left St. Joseph's early.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, he didn't complete the course there.
And it shows.
Yeah.
All right, there you have it. That has been our conversation with Honorable Kipchirchir Arap Kiruwa. We wait to see you next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. with him here on the show. He's now back bigger and better in blood and flesh. Waziri, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
For joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
All right, until we get to do this again, enjoy the rest of your viewing.